environmentally and socially and mentally as well. So this complex device, which is our brain, runs 1,000 different applications all at the same time. Not unlike our computers sometimes that have a million different tabs open, like I have right now on my computer. So we have windows open, apps running, and our computer, our brain has to filter through all of that, decipher and record the information, and at the same time solve problems and multitask. So in order to maintain that peak performance and productivity of our brains, we need to ensure that it gets the necessary nourishment, that it gets regular maintenance, and also gets regular resets, just like the brain, just like the computer. It needs to be reset once in a while, like completely shut down. I mean, not just put on sleep, but complete shutdown of the system, and then reboot, right? We also need clean energy supply to feed our brain. So we are aware that the brain is the most important organ in our body nowadays. And it's interesting because there are these trends that come and go, that come from this reductionistic view of our modern medicine, which views the body as a bunch of body parts, right? And our model of medicine is also based on focusing on treating the very body parts where the symptoms are found. So if there is anything that we find related to brain decline in cognitive decline, we obviously go to the brain and we try to treat the brain, right? So there are a number of health conditions that are degenerative and that get worse with aging, like Alzheimer's and dementia and memory loss. So we are trying to devise a number of strategies in our modern medicine to address these problems because the brain is the king. So coming from a slightly different angle, from the area of Eastern philosophy, from the Chinese medicine approach in particular, we view the body as a sacred whole. It's an ecosystem representing a fractal unit of the entire ecosystem of our planet Earth. So in a way, our body is a unique representation of our planet Earth. And it's comprised of the elements that are basically creating nature. And the functions of the body in traditional Chinese medicine are based on the theories of yin and yang and the 5 elements. So the yin and yang is basically the whole idea of this theory is expressed in the Tai Chi symbol. So you may remember and know this symbol as this black and white circle with a division in a form of a wave in the middle, and 2 smaller circles in the middle of those parts, right? So the black and the white of the symbol represent the 2 opposing components. So this is the nature of our duality, right? This is the nature of our creation, that we have a night and the day, we have the interior of the body and the exterior of the body. There's cold and heat, summer and winter. So everything is based on this concept of the yin and yang. And we can see the nature of every disease in the imbalance of these 2 components. So importantly, each component exists within the other component. So those smaller circles represented in the yin and yang symbol represent the microcosm of this concept. So in a way, this symbol is fractal. And if we zoom into each of those smaller circles, we will see a new Tai Chi symbol. So what that means is that our body is actually a fractal. And whatever happens on the outside of our body affects what happens in our internal ecosystem. And therefore, all of the systems of our body, all of the organs are actually intimately connected and interdependent on each other. So what happens in one part of the body actually affects sometimes the absolutely unrelated parts of our body. So this is where we are starting to make these really curious connections. And the research is actually going in that direction. They're starting to look at the health of our gut, the health of our internal microbiome. So this is the collection, the colonies of our beneficial microorganisms in our intestines. And they see how amazingly the health of these colonies affect the health of our brain and affect our moods and our cognition and everything from our hormonal balance to our digestion. So in the Eastern philosophy, we have these ripe, this beautiful, fertile, ripe material to look into the wholeness of the body, right? So, and interestingly, in Chinese medicine, the functions of the brain are dispersed between the 5 major yin organs. So we don't see the brain in Chinese medicine as an organ by itself, but its functions are part of the work of these 5 yin organs, which are the heart, the spleen, the lungs, the kidneys, and the liver. So the brain basically is maintained by the functioning of our important, what we call full organs. So these are organs that are filled with blood and fluid. Also interesting connection in Chinese medicine is that our brain is an extension of our kidney energy. So when we talk in Chinese medicine about the function of a particular element or organ system, it ties to the entire fractal communication network that connects this organ with other related body parts and even external orifices. So for example, water element is related to our kidney and bladder system. So this kidney system is not just limited to the renal function of the body, right? It's much more than our physical functioning. There is an emotion that is associated with that element. There are various body parts that are extensions of this energy, of this kidney energy. And it manifests outside into an external sensory organ. So in the case of the kidneys or the water element, the external organ opening into the outside is our ears. And there are multiple body parts that are connected or nourished by this energy of the water. So for example, we connect the functioning of this water element with our skeletal structure and our bone marrow, and also the spinal fluid and the brain. The kidneys also control the lower back and the knees of the body. Also, the water element governs the fluids of the body, and that includes our hormones. So, and the brain is not, the brain and TCM, which is not part of this complex network of organs, actually is called the curious organ. So perhaps the ancients, when they were developing the theory, didn't really have enough intel on what the brain looks inside, and we didn't have access to the tools that we do have nowadays. But somehow their intuition led them to explore how the brain is actually the master organ that is influenced by the proper functioning of the internal organs. Let's see, I want to move on to my little slide with notes. So in the mainstream medicine, we don't really see the connection between dietary choices and other lifestyle factors that can actually have a measurable effect on cognitive health. But thanks to epigenetics and this new frontier in the research, we are actually starting to look at many of the incurable, or so to say, unpreventable issues, such as Alzheimer's, for example, as genetic hiccups, and that, you know, there is nothing that we can do about them. But epigenetics actually shows that our genes are not set in stone, and that they can turn on and off depending on our lifestyle. So this is when we talk about the gene expression, right? So how our genes actually express themselves based on the environment that our bodies are exposed to. So depending on our lifestyle and depending on actually our diet. So when we talk about the factors that affect the health of the brain, we need to look at what is it that is going to help our body to maintain balance, that is going to help our body to be able to adapt to the changing flow of life situations and environmental factors and social factors, right? So, and our internal organs are like these masters that hold the energies and also manage our emotions. So which is connected to the brain, right? So like the brain has neurotransmitters that influence our emotions. So when it comes to nutrition, there's several things that we could really get smart about if we want to maintain our brain in top shape. Well, first of all, when we talk about food, we need to consider the quality of the food that comes into our body, right? So it's not only about the functional nourishment of our brain, but also about the quality of these building blocks that create the very foundations of our cellular structures. So in our standard American diet, you know, which we have adopted in the last several decades, which is the SAD diet, we are left with huge amounts of processed foods as part of our daily diet, and leading to massive deficiencies on certain nutrients and minerals. And one of those deficiencies that is very prevalent nowadays is omega-3 deficiency. So, and we all know that omega-3 is one of the master nutrients for the brain. And that is because actually about 1/3 of our brain tissue is made up of the DHA, a polysaturated omega-3 fatty acid, and the DHA actually comes from the animal food sources, and the quality of those food sources is of the utmost importance. So ideally, we should have about 1-to-1 ratio between omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids in the blood. Whereas most of us, you know, Americans, I'm you know, talking from my perspective from this side of the pond, we have an about 6-to-1 ratio or even higher. So that's like a wow, considering that our brain is dependent on this nutrient for regeneration, for cleansing as well. There's something that we call nowadays the glymphatic system, which is a lymphatic system of the brain. So this is the garbage management system that is particular to the brain tissue. And omega-3 is instrumental to the exchange of toxins and fresh nutrients in the brain tissue. So omega-3 fuels this transformation of toxins and nourishment of the brain. It helps to move the lymphatic system. So research shows that supplementing with DHA fish oil can help support healthy neurogenesis in adults, or healthy nerve cell formation. And that means that you can create more brain cells, and yes, please, we all want that. But however, when it comes to fish oil, you need to be really careful. It can oxidize very quickly and become more harmful than you can even imagine. And nobody wants rancid fish in their brain. So the quality of this fish oil is very important. And of course, we'll look to the sources of fish if we want to consume the actual fish as wild, and preferably from areas that are relatively unpolluted, which is very difficult to source nowadays, but it's still a possibility. And this is where it becomes really important to supplement. So I suggest that actually on a daily basis, everyone should be taking at least 1,000 milligrams of DHA, EPA, essential fatty acid per day. So another important factor when it comes to nutrition is saturated fat. So this is where we are talking about fats that come from both animal sources, such as lard and tallow from grass-fed animals, as well as the butter from the grass-fed cows, and ghee, which is clarified butter. But also one of the popular trends nowadays is coconut oil. And, you know, everyone is probably familiar with David Asprey's Bulletproof Coffee, which is basically combining the caffeinated benefits of coffee with the saturated fat, which brings the circulation and the nourishment directly to the brain. So saturated fat has been demonized for several decades, and it has been part of this no-fat propaganda. But now it's taking its rightful place, and good for us, because our brain is made of saturated fatty tissues, and we need to supplement our brain with healthy fats in order for it to function smoothly. So another important nutrient that we could get into our bodies easily is collagen, and it's responsible for cell formation. And one of the best sources for collagen is bone broth. So now you're starting to see this bone broth trend as well, and we actually have shops opening here and there in New York, where you can just stop by and get a cup of bone broth to go, like as if you were getting coffee to go, which is fascinating. And bone broth is part of the traditions of the ancient cultures from all around the world. It's something that is actually relatively easy to make at home. And here at the Academy of Healing Nutrition, this is one of our staple foods that we teach our students how to prepare. And of course, we recognize that not everyone is, you know, going to do the animal route when they're healing themselves, and that sometimes there are alternatives that are needed, and you know, therefore we can find sources of collagen in vegetarian sources as well, and they mainly come from plants. But bone broth is really a healing miracle food, because not only does it provide collagen, but it also helps to heal the very sensitive lining of our gut, which is super important and plays a big role in the smooth functioning of our immune system. So this one cell thin layer of our intestinal lining serves as a barrier to protect our system from toxins, from undigested food, from pathogens and parasites. And problem is that nowadays we have almost caused tremendous damage to this very sensitive layer of our intestines by ingesting processed foods and foods that are high in sugar. So one way to heal the gut lining and to prevent issues such as intestinal permeability or Crohn's disease, what is the latest trend nowadays? The leaky gut. There you go. So this is where you see this image of a bucket that has the holes and it's just not holding things together. And things seep directly into our bloodstream and overwhelm our immune system. So bone broth can offer so many healing benefits if we know how to prepare it properly. So another important factor in nourishing our brain are minerals. So minerals serve as spark plugs to initiate some important neural connections between the brain and the rest of the organs of our body. And we have multiple mineral deficiencies nowadays that are mainly due to the declining quality of the soils in which our foods are grown. So, for example, magnesium is one of the prevalent deficiencies in the West, as well as sulfur and zinc. And these deficiencies are made worse with, again, the consumption of foods that are not properly prepared or highly processed foods. So, for example, many people are experiencing digestive problems when they consume foods that are high in anti-nutrients, such as lectins or phytic acid, right? So these are the anti-nutrients that are naturally present in most grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. And they are easily neutralized by soaking the grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. So this is a step that is often skipped in modern commercial food production. And in fact, it has so many detrimental effects on our intestinal lining and also prevents the absorption of minerals into our bloodstream. So we need to be really mindful about proper mineral supplementation and really get smart about preparing our food at home the proper way. So this is something that we emphasize in our training, in our cooking classes. You know, there are different aspects of getting your health into better shape, and sourcing the best quality foods, cooking at home are part of this overall lifestyle strategy that can bring you better health. So other important nutrients for the brain are actually spices. So spices enhance circulation, and think of spices as substances that stimulate and spice up our brain function. And many of these spices are also anti-inflammatory. They support the brain and our nervous system. Another important food that I wanted to mention, which is one of my favorite foods actually, as I come from Russian background, and this is one of the foods or vegetables that is part of our regular diet, and it's the beetroot. So beetroot juice helps to improve cognitive function better than any stimulants and without side effects due to high content of nitrates. Which serve as vasodilators. So it means that they bring oxygen to your brain and make the utilization of this oxygen efficient and economical. So we use beetroot and the juice of the beetroots, and we also have several preparations of the with the beets that we share with our students in our cooking classes. Beets, let me see, I'll try to shuffle quickly. So another important connection that we need to make for our brain health is that gut-brain connection. There is a lot of research nowadays, and we are living in this exciting time when we are actually discovering how the health of our internal ecosystem, and in particular of our gut, affects the health of our brain. And if you probably started looking a little bit into the latest of the research on microbiome, and with popularization of the microbiome diet, and you know, the many wonderful teachers and researchers who have written books on the connection between gut and brain, such as Natasha Campbell McBride and her GAPS Gut and Psychology Syndrome, and Donna Gates with her body ecology. We are learning that our body is more bacterial than human, that we have more bacterial cells than human cells. There are trillions of bacteria in our body, and our DNA is actually more bacterial than human. We have about 1 or 2 kilograms of bacteria in our body. And this bacteria lives not only inside of our body, but also outside, on our skin, our hair, in our orifices such as eyes and mouths and ears, and also sexual organs. And their function is vital to our survival. So these microorganisms, the microbiome, the tiny bacteria, form colonies in the villi of that one cell thin lining of our gut. And as this layer serves as the barrier against the toxins and the pathogenic invaders, it's vital to support the health of these colonies. Let's see. So in order for our microbiome colonies to thrive, we need to supply ample amounts of fiber for them to thrive. So they actually, these tiny organisms, they use fiber as the building blocks of their housing complexes, if you wish. And there are different kinds of beneficial bacteria. Some of these probiotic organisms are colonizing, meaning that they have a more stable nature. So they're like the natives of the area. So they are native to our ecosystem, and they're very familiar with our system from the very first moments of our life. And we get these colonizing microorganisms into our gut, actually through the process of vaginal birth. As we pass through the birth canal, our mouths and our sensory organs get inoculated by these microorganisms, and they become the first colonies. So in a way, they help us to thrive. They help us to develop our digestive system, and they help us to develop the vital connections between our intestines and the rest of the body. So, and then we also have the transitory probiotics. So these are the microorganisms that we often consume with food. So they come from our outer environment, and sometimes they serve as what's the word? As visitors, perhaps, that have gifts to share, that help to enhance the work of the initial colonies. And then they exit when their work is done. So we excrete them with our poop. So both are necessary. And in order for these colonies to thrive, we need, fiber in our system. So I often suggest that people are mindful about the fiber consumption and try to get in at least 35 grams of fiber per day, minimum. So it's super important to address the health of our gut, the health of our digestive system, if we want to experience higher cognition and better memory and maintain our brain functions into ripe old age. So a couple other things that I want to go through are the helpful botanicals. So there are certain herbs that are known classically and traditionally through the ancient systems of medicine, such as Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, as supportive for the health of our brain. So one of those botanicals is Bacopa monnieri. It is an effective nervine and brain tonic in Ayurvedic medicine. It has been used for centuries to help people with people of all ages to remember new information. So it has been used traditionally to address mental health issues and mood and cognitive function issues. So in Vedic texts, Bacopa is classified as a rejuvenative substance or a longevity substance. And today, Ayurvedic doctors use it for enhanced focus and for supporting the cognition. Another popular herb that comes from the Ayurvedic tradition is Gotu kola. Gotu kola enhances circulation to the brain. So if you think about the brain as being the top of our ecosystem, right? And the gravity works kind of against it. So in order to bring circulation to our brain, we need some powerful agents that can defy gravity, perhaps, and that could enhance the microcirculation to the vital brain tissues. So Gotu kola is one of those. And it also helps to develop new brain synapses, which is, quite a curious factor, because we had this theory in the past that once we lose the brain cells, we cannot recover them, right? So we cannot create new brain cells and we cannot create new brain synapses. So there are certain botanicals that actually help our brain to regenerate. A common Western herb that everyone is probably familiar with as a culinary herb is rosemary. So rosemary also helps to enhance circulation to the brain, and it is known as a herb for remembering. So interestingly, many of the herbs that are used for supporting the brain function are considered the memory herbs, or in a way, the memory chips. So one of those memory chip brains is an herb that is revered in Chinese medicine, and it has been used for centuries to enhance the brain function and focus in particular. And it's called Schisandra. So Schisandra, you can see it as a mini memory device, almost like your flash drive. And if you want to remember large amounts of information all at once, say if you are preparing for an examination, or if you are reading or getting, you're basically gathering the resources into your brain to further process the information and extract the valuable pieces. So Schisandra, consumed at the time of your information binge is going to help you to remember what you're reading and studying. And then at the time when you actually need to transmit what you have learned, you can take Schisandra again, and it's almost like, oops, like you got your little flash drive, your memory drive, And at the time when you need it, you insert it back into your computer and you bring the information forward. So a cute little way to think of Schisandra as a memory device. But in traditional Chinese medicine, this herb has been also used to increase energy and fight fatigue and slow down the aging process in general. So this is a very highly rejuvenative herb. And it works on all levels. It's interesting and unique in a way because it has all the 5 major flavors. So we have sour, bitter, sweet, spicy, and salty as the 5 main flavors that are also associated with the 5 elements of the Chinese medicine, and that each has an association with a particular organ system. So Schisandra, as having all 5 flavors, basically enters our entire circuitry. So it enters all of our organs. Also, it enters all of our meridians. So in Chinese medicine, there is this concept of the meridians as these invisible energy lines running throughout our body and connecting our organs to the periphery. So Schisandra almost like plugs all of our organs together with our nervous system, together with our meridians and our brain in a complex circuit. So everything is online. And it gives you this unusual state of alertness, perhaps because of its tart flavor. So it makes it a really great beverage to start your day. So if you're looking for this like mind sharpening, focus enhancing effect that we often seek in coffee, try Schisandra. You will actually be surprised that how amazing it will be for your energy and for your thinking without the side effects of coffee. So let's see. So Schisandra in a way has a calming effect. So it's not a stimulant. So coffee, we all love coffee, but coffee is a stimulant. So what it does, it takes our own energy and redistributes it. So it's kind of like robs our precious energy reserves and makes us believe that it's giving us something, whereas it's our own precious energy. And so there's this feedback loop that forms and habit around coffee because we constantly seek for more of this caffeine kick. So Schisandra, on the opposite, has a calming effect. So it produces this state of very quiet and, I'm sorry, almost like matrix sort of focus, where you're hyper aware of all of your surroundings and what is happening around you. I'm sorry. I'm gonna take a little bit of a sip of water. How are we doing with time, Patricia?
I think we have, we want to wrap up in the next 5 to 10 minutes, then we'll get some time for questions. Does that work? Perfect.
Sure. Sorry about that. Okay. So the fascinating herbs of Chinese medicine. Another really powerful herb for our brain, and it also works as an adaptogen. So talking about adaptogens is an amazing group of plants and medicinal mushrooms, which does what it's named to do, which is help our body to adapt to all forms of stress, be it physical, emotional, environmental, or psychological. So ashwagandha is an herb that is known in the Ayurvedic system of medicine as a powerful rejuvenative substance. So it's also a rasayana. It's a powerful adaptogen. And it has a unique ability to balance the body systems, such as our endocrine system, which is responsible for sleep. So ashwagandha helps to regulate our circadian rhythms, also mood and our sex hormones. So, and stimulates our immune system. It is also known for its ability to boost energy, not unlike coffee, but in contrast to coffee, ashwagandha gives you more of a long-term sustainable energy build up by working on soothing and healing your adrenal glands. And actually, ashwagandha is one of the best herbs for stress management and for recovery from chronic stress and burnout. I have successfully used on myself and also on many of the clients that I worked with who had severe burnout. And this is a condition that is quite prevalent in our modern days, especially if we are living in big cities where there are multiple stress factors that are surrounding us all at the same time. So ashwagandha, I find, is one of the most helpful allies for our modern lifestyles, and it's good to take it both in the evening if you want to enjoy deeper and more restorative sleep, and also in the morning if you want to experience a boost of energy and feel more stamina and endurance during the day. Superstar ashwagandha. Another favorite of mine when it comes to brain health and nerve regeneration is a medicinal mushroom that is called lion's mane. So lion's mane specifically regrows the nerve endings and rebuilds our brain cells. It also helps to make stronger connections in the neural pathways. And this medicinal mushroom is actually quite edible. You can find it in some more natural, organic health food stores. It looks like a beautiful white cloud, or like another name for it is a shaggy mane. It has this beautiful white spongy texture, and it's really delicious if you cook it with a little bit of butter and sea salt and black pepper. So it doesn't need any other seasoning. It's good on its own, beautiful aroma, and super beneficial for your brain. You can also find lion's mane nowadays in supplement form. And perhaps if you are looking for more long-term results from your whole foods, it's best to take it in a capsule form or in a tincture form regularly. And usually we suggest to take any given herbal or mushroom substance for at least 1 to 3 months to start seeing effects from it. So lion's mane is one of the supplements that I actually take on and off on a regular basis. So I rotate lion's mane with other medicinal mushrooms from time to time. So usually going for stretches of 3 months or a little bit longer, depending on how I feel and how my body is really responding to a certain supplement. So lion's mane. Another favorite of mine, and actually one of the first herbs that I remember from my childhood, is Siberian ginseng, also known as eleuthero. And it is actually one of the most well-researched adaptogens. It was one of the first herbs that was used by Russian scientists in the early 50s when they were testing adaptogens on athletes, and also the first spacemen that they were preparing for the mission to fly to the moon or to explore the outer edges of of our beautiful planet, and with great results. So eleuthero is used to increase mental alertness and performance. It also enhances concentration, increases our energy and stamina, and reduces overall stress load and fatigue. Drinking eleuthero tea helps us to enjoy this sustained energy without jitters like honey, like coffee, sorry. And we don't have that energy roller coaster from it. And even though eleuthero cannot really get rid of the sources of stress in your life, but it strengthens the body. It strengthens your ability to adapt to the flux of challenges that are always coming into our lives. So it gives us this powerful support to cope with the problems of modern living. As I remember from my early days in my childhood, eleuthero was given to me in a syrup form, and I was taking it throughout my school year as a support for brain function, and also giving me this alertness to sit through a long day in school. Another favorite of mine, which I have been using, you can say as a coffee substitute, is an herb that comes from the Ecuador, and it has been traditionally used in ceremony, and is known to have large amounts of caffeine, actually as high as in coffee. However, because it contains an ample supply of L-theanine, an amino acid that imparts a feeling of pleasant tranquility, in a way it serves as an anti-stimulant to the caffeine that is in this herb. So guayusa sharpens awareness, gives us energy, but unlike coffee, doesn't give us jitters and that inevitable crash once the effects of caffeine wear down. So guayusa's energy is actually more bright, focused, and clean. So, and guayusa it means, you know, bright and clean focus. Also, guayusa helps to improve the circulation to the brain. So that's another factor that helps us to support the overall circulation of the blood through the tissues of our brain, and promoting this exchange of toxins and nutrients in the sensitive brain tissues. Let's see. So talking about enhancing the circulation to the brain, we can achieve that through several means, and exercise is one, right? So physical exercise is good for more than the body, and it plays a key role in our brain's ability to concentrate, remember, and process the information. One of the greatest exercises that help us to bring circulation quickly to our brain is rebounding. So I encourage you to check out rebounding if you haven't explored that sort of exercising yet. There are actually clubs where you can sign up for classes where you can jump on this little trampoline, and there's a number of fun things that you can do while you're jumping on it. So a really great exercise that is good to do daily for just a few minutes. It doesn't take much of your day. Just a few minutes a day is enough to get the benefits. Incredibly detoxifying, moving circulation, gets all of your organs in great shape. We can also enhance the circulation by doing skin brushing. So dry skin brushing is another strategy that comes from Ayurveda. And it has become quite popular nowadays. You can see a number of bloggers talking about it and explaining its benefits. But basically, brushing the skin with a dry brush in the direction of the heart, from the periphery, from the bottom of your body, starting with the soles of your feet and up your legs, and then up your arms all the way to your heart, helps to move your lymphatic system. So lymphatic system doesn't have a pump of its own. So you really need tools to be able to assist this garbage collection system to clear the toxins out of your body. We also have an amazing device here in New York, and also it's becoming available in increasingly in other countries, and it is called Therify. So Therify is an electromagnetic healing device, which is based on some of the principles of sacred geometry and some of the ideas of Nikola Tesla. And it creates a really powerful field, plasmic field, which in a way puts the cells of your body into this virtual washing machine, and gives you a good scrub in the washing machine. So excellent for enhancing circulation, and also really stimulates your brain. So if you're curious about Therify, you can find more information on it on a number of websites, including therify.tech, or perhaps I'll remember the exact other sites and post it in the chat section. Giving our brain a reset from time to time is absolutely crucial for our brain health, especially in our days when we are crowded with information. We are crowded with technology, and we are constantly on our cell phones. We are constantly on our computers. And this is not going to change any day soon. So it's essential that we develop practices and perhaps lifestyle strategies where we give our body the necessary downtime. So when I was talking in the beginning of this presentation about turning off your computer and allowing it to rest before turning it on, this is the ultimate brain reset. Yeah, so there are a number of strategies like sleep or taking naps. In several studies, a nap of even 10 minutes improved cognitive function and vigor and decreased sleepiness and fatigue. So as good sleep, good deep regenerative sleep, is like a whole system reboot. Another thing that can give you a whole system reboot, and it's a beautiful therapy that I have been exploring in the last 4 or 5 years, and it's craniosacral therapy. So this is an incredibly resourcing, nurturing a form of body and energy work that brings your body to a sort of 0 point state where your nervous system completely resets and reboots itself. So then you wake up from a session, from a 1-hour session, renewed and feeling like you're just starting to live. It's really incredible, almost miraculous. And I highly recommend that you explore craniosacral therapy for a powerful brain reset. Meditation allows you to basically restart the computer, close all your tabs, and start fresh, right? So doing it regularly trains your focus muscle and allows your brain to rest from all the other programs that it's running. Walks in nature and actually seeing some green. Green color is incredibly regenerating for the brain. Taking breaks. Right? Taking breaks from our daily activities is, especially in nature, is incredibly biologically restorative. So we need that sensory release. We need to disconnect from the outside input into our sensory organs and allow our brain some downtime. deep breathing, some of the essential oils, and breathing, inhaling essential oils helps to reset our brain through our nasal pathways. Listening to music is incredibly resourceful for our system and helps to reset our brain through the ears. Arts, right? So engaging in any form of arts, like painting or dance. Dance, I tell you, it's an incredible art form that helps us to integrate both the left and the right brain hemispheres. It gives you a constant sense of novelty because you need to really work hard to integrate the movement, the inputs that come with the movement in the different parts of your brain, of your body with your brain. So in a way, it helps us to get the energies to cross between the left and the right hemisphere into the opposite sides of our body. So that overall helps us to integrate the experiences that we are gathering, that we are accumulating through our life, and better process them. So there's a lot more that we go into. I was trying to give you a really quick run through and introduction basically to at least the philosophy that we use in teaching when we cover some of the concepts from Chinese medicine and Ayurveda in our training courses. I feel that it's really important nowadays to start integrating the gifts from both the modern Western medicine as well as with what we have adopted, what we have inherited from other cultures and other systems that have been developed over thousands of years. So this is what we are really good at doing in our training courses. An Academy of Healing Nutrition Coach program is geared towards helping us to integrate these concepts and to get the most tools for us to live a healthy, vibrant life. So I am going to perhaps open some time for questions. And Patricia, would you like to add something to what I have shared about any of what I just shared, or about the school or the training?
Sure. Yeah, so I've shared with my experience with a couple of you guys before, because I recognize a couple of the names in the attendee list. But I was a student of Academy myself. I graduated in 2016. And for me, you know, what I learned through Academy was extremely transformative, specifically because when I joined, I had chronic migraines, and I was taking upwards of 20 pills a month because I was literally getting migraines every other day. And, you know, what I really learned in the program was, again, not to treat the symptom. So, you know, with working with a neurologist, all I would get was additional prescription medicine. I would get additional stronger dosage of medication, rather than asking what was actually the root of the disease, what was actually causing my condition. And in the program, I actually learned that, you know, what was really, you know, causing that situation for me was in the gut. So talking about the gut-brain connection, right? The understanding that my gut was in such ill state, and that I wasn't digesting food properly, and that the food that was improperly digested was sort of leaking through my gut, like Inga mentioned, leaky gut, and then coming up to my head and creating those migraines, right? So that was really eye-opening for me, because during my entire time with my neurologist, which was 3 years, and getting all sorts of scans and stuff, there was never a question of what are you eating, what is your lifestyle. How are you taking care of yourself? It was more just about, here's a stronger prescription. So, you know, for me, understanding how to nourish myself, how to heal my gut. Inga mentioned amazing ways to do this, including, you know, bone broth, supplementation, like fish oil was something that I also started to add. And I also looked at adding a lot of probiotic foods. So for example, looking at fermented vegetables, looking at sauerkraut, for example. And all of that was things that I'd learned to make at Academy. Before I was very scared, you know, like, how am I going to do fermented vegetables? But actually through the course, I learned that it was something so easy to add on. So basically, since graduating in 2016, I haven't taken any medicine, and that's something that I was told never would be possible. And that just further iterates this connection between the brain and the gut that we talked about. But yeah, basically, through the course, we review you know, a different way of looking at food, because it's very much holistic, right? Like you saw in the, it was about the food, it was about the supplements and the herbal medicine, it was about, you know, the lifestyle factors, and what we talk about at Academy in that comprehensive way. And like I mentioned, it is a 10-month program, and it is a foundation of food, but we have, you know, the cooking class so that you can understand how to actually cook all the broths that we talk about, the vegetable broths, bone broths, or how to apply, you know, the beauty of our program is that it's looking at Eastern traditions as well, like what we talked about, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, and those concepts can be quite new. So when we learn how to apply them through cooking, it really grounds us into understanding, okay, how we put into context, you know, the 5 flavors that Inga mentioned, and the Shizandra herb, for example. How does that come into play when we're creating a dish? So, you know, we have the cooking classes, we have a whole class on making elixirs and all of the herbs that Inga talked about. You know, we actually go through those in detail, and a couple of others more as well, so that you learn how to make elixirs and tonics for you that are nourishing. We have a whole weekend on natural remedies, because a lot of the problems that we face now is that we take so much medicine, and that really erodes our gut lining as well. So learning the ways that we can heal naturally, you know, doing things like a ginger compress as well, doing a little bit of a shiatsu massage, we do a little bit of mindfulness technique. So it is this really holistic approach to tuning into our bodies and learning to understand that we have the potential to heal, and that we have that inner wisdom, that if we're supported with the information that, you know, our course gathers, we're able to truly transform our health. So yeah, you know, that's a bit of my story, a little bit of the curriculum. Like I said, the curriculum is starting in March in London, and in October again in New York. It is available fully online, should that be an option for anyone who is interested. But there are modules on live that are really nice to attend, should you be able to, because it is, you know, that cooking and that interactivity. And the course, not only for me, it was really a journey, right? You know, it was coming on and learning what I did during my certification. But then also I had so much supplemental material. You know, we have ebooks, we have recommended books. There's, you know, a 500-page e-workbook that you get. There's so much material that I'm still learning and you know, going through, that it's really this journey that started when I enrolled in Academy and never really ended, because there's all this material at my disposal. And we always welcome students to come back and you know, redo any of the live modules if they've missed any, and really kind of experience that that for a lifetime. And the people that you meet and that you connect with become sort of your and the idea is that when you graduate, you get a health coach certificate. So that means that you can go on and actually help others, you know, reclaim their health. And the idea is that you will learn a lot of tips, again, from a holistic manner, from the food, the supplements, the natural remedies, the lifestyle, that will then empower you to help others. But not all students choose that route. The applications of this curriculum is multifaceted. When I joined, it was more to, to go on my own healing journey. But, one of my colleagues when I was doing the course in New York, she ended up launching a business called Smoops, which is about, a detox soups that she now delivers to people in London. So we launched a program in London last year, and our students are graduating in a week. So our students are going out with really exciting projects into the world. One of them is a ballerina, and she saw how in the performing arts there was such a lack of knowledge for how to treat yourself and really nourish yourself, to perform the best when you are dancing or whatever it may be that you're doing it in a performance art fashion. So she created an ebook that's going to help her colleagues when they're performing, to really prepare. And another student, she's a mother, and she saw how much need there is for supporting mothers post-birth, right? So she's creating a business around that. So there's multiple applications. One of my students already cooked at a retreat. So the knowledge really can take you many beautiful and exciting places. So yeah, that's a bit about the course and my journey with it. I love having had the opportunity to open it in London, because it is something that really transformed my life. And I see the students each time that they graduate, this program has been going on for 35 years, and there is that immense transformation because of all the knowledge that you get, and all the support that you get from the family at Academy. Yeah, so now there's been a little questions. Inga, do you have access to the questions as well? I don't think I hear you, Inga. Hello. Let's see. One second.
Okay, am I on?
Yes, you're back.
Okay. Good. Yes, so there is a couple questions about omega-3 supplementation. Is there a DHA supplement for vegans? There are in fact several that I know, supplements of omega-3 that are made from lab-grown algae. And I'm trying to pull one here and post it in your chat window. So this one is from Dr. Furman. It's a vegan DHA EPA. It's made from algae. Another one that I know is called Nutrus Omega Zen. So these are the vegan forms. So something that we need to be aware of when it comes to omega-3 fatty acids is that there are several forms, right? So there is the DHA and EPA, which are the long chain fatty acids, and they are the marine origin fatty acids. And DHA comes mainly from fish, and it's found a little bit in eggs and seaweed as well. And this form of DHA is what is vital for the health of our brain and also for our eyes. I think it's also a component of our heart. So these three factors are super important. EPA is also a long-chain fatty acid, and it's mainly found in krill and other types of seafood, and also algae. So this one is mainly good for the cardiovascular system. So for example, if you're looking for an omega-3 supplement for the brain, I would go with the one that is higher in the DHA. And the ideal ratio is actually 2 to 1. So 2 DHA to 1 EPA. ALA is a short chain fatty acid, and it has land origin. So it's found in leaves, plants such as chia, flax seeds, walnuts, also very high in purslane, which is an invasive plant, if you wish. They need a saturated fatty acid to increase the utilization of the fatty acids in the body. So ALA is converted into EPA and DHA in the body, but a very low ratio. So you need to consume some saturated fats along with your vegetarian sources of omega-3s if you are going that route. So that's why we often combine omega-3s with coconut oil. And these are often the components in our elixirs. We use both the flax seeds or other nuts along with the coconut oil. So that makes them synergistically more absorbable. So that's the DHA question for vegans. Didn't catch the name of the trampoline exercise. So that is rebounding. Posted here. Roger also, our director, has shared the link for the Therify device. And you can find locations all around the world by going to the link that is in your chat window. So there is another question about vegetable sources of collagen. One of the famous herbs in the Chinese medicine tradition, which is considered a powerful rejuvenating substance, and it's great for the health of the kidneys, as well as our blood and our liver, and it's called Ha Sha Wu. So Ha Sha Wu, I am posting it here, enhances our body's own collagen production. Oops, not should. He, show, wu. No autocorrect. There we go. An incredible herb that supports our innate energy production. In a way, we have this energy reserve stored in our kidneys. So it's like a battery that we have in the back of our back, in the back of our body. And it serves as a reservoir for our primordial life force. This is something that we inherit from our ancestors, from our parents. And Ha Sha Wu is one of the few herbs that is able to replenish the reserves of this energy. So it works on the kidney system or the water element, and it also helps to build healthy, nourished blood, which then circulates to the brain and feeds the tissues of this important body part. So, Ha Sha Wu, any other?
There's a question around how the modules are structured, and I will be sending through to everyone an overview of our modules, but the course is basically comprised of 10 modules, and in London those modules start in March and they go through to December, in New York from October to June. And basically, you start off with an introduction of the topics that we discussed. So Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, the 5 elements theory, the cultures of longevity, which is a big part of our course. And the first one is very much those introductory topics. And then the second one, and it's basically one module a month. A module is comprised of a Saturday and Sunday, 9:30 to 5. So the first one in March is in London about the introduction. Then in April, we have a cooking session. So that's when we put everything into practice, and we cook probably like 12 dishes, and we end up eating a lot over those weekends. And then we have another cooking session which is our third module, but that is with Chinese herbs. So we look at that weekend, we also go into Chinatown and we look at all the herbs, learn how to source them, and then that we can cook them and prepare them and understand how to make these tonic dishes that are going to be very healing. And then the fourth module is around being your own doctor. So natural remedies, supplements, understanding, again, those mindfulness techniques. The fifth module goes into understanding, the elixirs again. Or the fifth module is actually cooking again, and that's when we do the fermentation workshops and really learn how to do all these beautiful probiotic vegetables and beverages that we mentioned are so crucial for gut health. And then we go, and there are 6 modules: the elixirs and tonics. So playing around with all the herbs, making our own nut milks, making our own coconut milks to play around with beautiful recipes. The 7th module is around Oriental diagnosis. So what we mentioned is it's really important to understand the root cause and to really understand how everything in your body is interconnected. And through Chinese medicine and through Oriental diagnosis, there's a beautiful way to understand, the connections that are going on in your mind, so in your body rather. So underneath the eyes can be associated with, kidneys and things like that, that you start to understand how to put everything together. And then there's one module, the 8th one, is completely focused on Ayurveda. So we talk about Ayurveda, sprinkle it through the curriculum, but the curriculum has, all these different modalities that are taken into consideration, like Chinese medicine and macrobiotics, cultures of longevity, and in that module specifically through looking at Ayurveda. And the 9th one is more about sort of the paradigms for healthcare and understanding from a broader perspective. Okay, so we're talking about the food and how it impacts in our livelihood, but then how does that impact from a bigger standpoint of government and through healthcare, and through understanding how it impacts the world around us as well. So it's led by someone who is founding the macrobiotic movement, but has a very activist role in giving governments a more more active role in understanding the importance of food. And the last module is around looking at health coaching. So how can you go out in the world and launch a health coach business, which is what a vast majority of our graduates go on to do. So those are basically the overviews of the 10 modules. And like I said, starting in March in London and in October in New York. And I think, are there any more questions around that? We will be sending through a recording of this, a course overview, and like I said, everyone who joined us has a discount for our program, specifically the one starting in London. So we'll send the details of that over to you guys as well. It will be £250 off, and you'll have access for that to that discount for about a week. So we'll be sending through everything so that you guys have it at hand. I think that's it. Any more questions, Inga, that we didn't address? Or
I'm trying to see if there's anything new.
Modules. Yes, I think that's all, guys. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you sticking through with us. And we went a little bit past the hour, but a lot of information to cover. And thank you so much, Inga, as always, for all your beautiful knowledge. It's always such a pleasure to connect with you. And yeah, hopefully we'll see a couple of you guys around. There is in New York an open house April 27th with Nam Singh, who's our ordained Taoist priest who teaches about cooking with Chinese medicine. And there is an open house, our last open house before starting the program in London on the 21st of March. So we'll be sending those details through by email as well. But I hope to see you guys live. Do email us if you have any questions. And otherwise, thank you so much for coming today.